All right, welcome back. It is time to bring in our State House insiders, our Democratic strategist, Antoine Seawright, our Republican strategist, Dave Wilson. A lot to get to tonight, so let's dive on in. City elections here in the capital city next Tuesday. Nonpartisan race for mayor is on the ticket. Dave, how do you see this shaking out?
There are 4 candidates for mayor in the city of Columbia right now. And no matter how you want to say that this is a nonpartisan race, you can take a look at the track record of the people who are running in these races and get a pretty good sense of where they're falling on the political scale. That's going to be important. But the other part that really needs to be thought through here is this. This election that is taking place on Tuesday is most likely not going to end up in a final race. We're most likely going to have a runoff among the 2 top vote getters, because that's probably what's going to happen, with voter turnout being the key factor into how many people and how many votes there actually are for our 4 candidates that are running for mayor to replace a very popular and very historic mayor, Steve Benjamin.
This will be, as I've said on many occasions, perhaps the most transitional election in our region's history. Because this is really about not what Columbia was, not what she is, but what she can be. Not only on the ballot, but you have a mayoral election, you have an at-large city council seat, as well as 2 district seats. That's really going to determine the future of this country. Unfortunately, Dave and JR, what happens in elections like this on off years is that we see a tremendous drop-off to somewhere between 23 to 34% in participation. It's disgusting and sad, because I always remind people, the closer your government is to you, the more important it is for you. And at the end of the day, we know the importance of a city council election in the city of Columbia, because this is about the region. Everything in the region of the Midlands feeds off of what is happening in Columbia. David's right. We're likely to see a runoff in the mayoral election, but we're also likely to see a runoff in the at-large city council seat. Whoever that person will be will replace Councilwoman Isaac Devine, who's a candidate for mayor.
All right, I want to move on to another big story of the day. That is the DOJ announcing an $88 million settlement with the families of the victims of the Mother Emanuel church shooting from back in 2015. Antoine, basically the DOJ admitting today the FBI didn't do their job here when it came to Dylann Roof.
Well, the first step to recovery, everything I've read since I was a child, is admitted you have a problem. And I think today's announcement is the realization that DOJ realized they had a problem. However, as Senator Pinckney's daughter so eloquently stated in the press conference, this will not bring back her father. And I'm sure the other victims who were killed in that church in Charleston by white supremacists by the name of Dylann Roof probably feel the same way. The sad reality about this discussion today, 1, it will open up old wounds, but 2, the Congress, as well as the General Assembly in South Carolina, has yet to pass legislation to close the Charleston loophole that would have prevented anyone, especially a white supremacist like Dylann Roof, from having a gun and committing the hate crime that he prevented. And not only did we refuse to pass the Charleston loophole bill, we've also refused to pass a hate crime bill in the state of South Carolina, one of very few states in the country who have not done so.
One of the things that we always have to keep in mind, JR, and we've said this off the air and on the air, that day, Antoine and I were together with Senator Pinckney. It was a Senate Finance Committee hearing, and he left that day and said, guys, I've got to head down. I've got to do Bible study tonight. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And that was the last that we saw of Senator Pinckney. And there are no words that can describe that. There's no dollars that you could ever get that could replace the life of a family member, of a human being. And so, the wounds of that day are reopened again, because we have yet one more marker of something that's going on. So we just want to put our prayers up for every member of every family that was touched by what happened in Charleston that day.
Earlier today, Governor McMaster proposed spending $500 million for rural infrastructure improvements across the state of South Carolina. Dave, is this something that's going to happen? Again, this is a proposal right now, and the money would come from the American Rescue Plan, so federal dollars coming back to South Carolina for this project.
This federal dollars, keep in mind, folks, when you're at home and you're thinking about this, because I can hear my friend Antoine in the background in my mind here, the reality is these are your dollars that you pay in federal taxes that are coming back to the state of South Carolina. These are dollars that need to be invested as we've talked about before, in the rural highways and byways across South Carolina, where we have infrastructure needs that really need to be addressed and developed. And keep in mind, federal highway dollars are important dollars that need to be spent, and they're coming to us through an American Rescue Plan that is trying to rescue the economy. And whether or not my friend Antoine will agree with that or not, that's a good investment in infrastructure in South Carolina.
Well, I tell you what, it's so funny watching my friend Dave bojangle around here on a Thursday night on the Insiders. Here's the truth. Dave and his party, zero folks from the Republican delegation in South Carolina voted for the American Rescue Plan. So they actually voted no, and now they want to take the dough. It's so funny watching our governor hoodwink the people of South Carolina thinking that he's for infrastructure when he and other governors around the country were advocating against the American Rescue investments. In fact, to heck with calling the American Rescue Plan, I called it the American Survival Act, because what those dollars from Washington, D.C. Did for many places around the country, it took us from life support to having steady breath again in this country. So I'm glad that the governor is appreciative of the Biden bucks and the Kamala cash that has come to South Carolina. I do think we have to be very strategic and very efficient and effective with those dollars. And we should wait, because I'm very convinced, and it may not have Republican support, but I'm convinced there will be a bipartisan infrastructure plan that will pass the House of Representatives, as well as a reconciliation bill that will make some serious meat and potatoes investments all around the country in the form of $1.2 trillion at least on the infrastructure plan. And there may be dollars that we can use dedicated for infrastructure in that regard, instead of using rescue dollars that could be used to really have a direct impact on people's lives who need it.
All right, before we wrap up, I want to touch on Hugh Leatherman, the Florence senator, the powerful Senate Finance Committee chairman, who is at home on hospice care right now. The 90-year-old lawmaker is very ill this evening. Antoine, your thoughts on Hugh Leatherman?
A friend. And when I say a friend, I use the definition that I was taught much younger in my life. A friend is someone who will defend you and advocate for you in your absence. I consider the chairman from Florence a true friend. No matter how you feel about his politics, no matter how you feel about how he may have ran his committee, no matter how you feel about him personally, at the end of the day, I always think that he did what he thought was in the best interest of the people of South Carolina. We may not have been in the same party in the end, because he was a Democrat, switched to be a Republican. However, I think he treated his job as chair of Finance Committee as one where he tried to be very inclusive with Democrats and Republicans. And when we look back at the legacy of Hugh Leatherman, the chairman of Senate Finance from Florence, we're going to say he was perhaps one of the most consequential South Carolinians to ever serve in our General Assembly.
We say in South Carolina, if it rolls, if it drives, if it flies, we make it here. You know, we've got Volvo that's here. We've got Boeing that's here. We've got major tire manufacturers that are here because, as Antoine just said, Senator Hugh Leatherman from Florence County was instrumental in making those things happen for our state. You've got to keep in mind, this is a man who has served in the South Carolina legislature for 4 decades. Mm-hmm. And that experience, that knowledge, that understanding carries itself through with a mentality that was all about what needs to be done for South Carolina, even down to the expansion that we have of the bread and butter artery of business that is the Port of Charleston. That is a key part of our economy remaining strong here in South Carolina. And we owe a lot of that and a lot of thanks and gratitude and prayers to Senator Hugh Leatherman and his family tonight.
All right, Dave Wilson, Republican strategist, Antoine Seawright, our Democratic strategist. Guys, thank you so very much. A quick break.